What's up, everyone? How you doing? Welcome to the Luke Mind Power podcast. It's a blessing to be alive, and it is such a blessing to be here with you today. This is episode 156, and I have a super amazing, extraordinary person with me today that's going to inspire you. Her name is Suzanne Adams, and she is a phenomenal person. She's also a TEDx speaker, author, best-selling book called Girl Awakened, with endorsements from Lewis Howes, Gabby Bernstein, and Lisa Nichols. And she's also a seasoned speaker who has commanded the stages at NBC, the CW, Lululemon, and the Hay House. She's dedicated herself to helping others reach their highest potential and attract their dreams. As a manifesting genius who now proudly says that she's truly living her purpose, Suzanne wrote another book called Quantum Vibes, which has the 7 tools to help you raise your energy. I'm all about energy, so I love that. Harness your power and manifest a life that will blow your mind. Suzanne Adams, welcome to the Luke Mind Power podcast.
Thank you, Luke. What a pleasure and an honor. I'm so excited for this conversation. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's freaking amazing. I got to tell you, I was doing a little bit of research and I was like, who is this Suzanne Adams? And I'm like, okay, I went on your YouTube channel and then I was looking around and I saw 2017, you interviewed Lewis Howes.
Mm-hmm.
And he has had a massive impact on my growth and my evolution.
Amazing.
Yes. So, we talk about manifestation, and obviously you're all about that. I just spoke to you about seeing this amazing ocean view that in one of your videos as well. So obviously there's a story, obviously, all of this, success and abundance and this life that you live didn't just fall out of the sky.
No.
So give us a little bit of a background of where Susan came from, because we all have a story, and I know that a lot of us have come from pretty challenging experiences, and we've had to kind of pull ourselves out of that in order to manifest our dreams and get ourselves onto that higher vibration. And and I truly believe that if you have a lot of pain or trauma or insecurities or a lack of self-belief, you're going to find it pretty challenging to manifest abundance, have an abundance lifestyle, manifest your dreams and your goals. So how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I believe that we can wake up and change either through inspiration or through pain. And unfortunately, most of us unconsciously choose the pain route, which was definitely the case for me. And I lived a life really following conditioning, really trying to fit into a box that I didn't resonate with on a soul level. I lived what I call a very surface level life. And if you would have known me, the first part of my life, I appeared bubbly, I appeared happy because I was really good at pretending and I was not very good at feeling. And there came a point in time, I had a massive spiritual awakening in 2013. And what happened was I'd gotten into this space and place in life where nothing was working out the way that I had wanted to. And if you would have seen my life from the outside, it would have appeared quite awesome, actually. I had excelled and worked very hard to build a career that I did very, very well at. I had great friends. There was a time when I was in a relationship that I was deeply in love with this man, and all of a sudden, nothing was filling me up. It was like I had searched externally everywhere to find a feeling. I wanted to feel desired. I wanted to feel appreciated. I wanted to feel love. I wanted to feel fulfillment. And nothing was giving me that feeling. And these uncomfortable little nudges in my body started to happen, and I didn't want to feel them. And so I chose a way to numb. And what I did was I waited till 5 o'clock and I said, okay, it's 5 o'clock. It feels acceptable now. And I'm going to have a glass of wine to take the edge off. So I did that, and I would have 1 or 2 or 3 glasses or whatever I needed until I didn't have to feel, and it worked. And after a few months of doing that, it wasn't ever an addiction. It wasn't like that. It was like a numbing copanism, because some of us numb with Netflix, some of us numb with being busy. Some of us do numb with substances, pills, partying, drinking. There's a lot of different ways to numb. And for me in that moment, it was just having a glass of wine to take the edge off, because it felt like it was acceptable. And that's just what people did. And there was this moment after a few months of this. And, in those few months when I was doing that, I no longer was pretending to be happy. Like, people were really looking at me like, Suzanne, what's wrong with you? And I would just be like, I don't know. And I was very much, I didn't want to talk to people. I wanted just to be at home. I would try to go to work. I would drive to work, and like, I wouldn't be able to get out of the car. It was like, I can't even explain what happened. And there was this moment where I was sitting on the sofa, staring at the clock. I call it a quantum moment. In my new book, Quantum Vibes, is what I define as a quantum moment, is a moment in your life where there's like, it's like a line in the sand, and everything changes in a blink. And I remember staring at the clock, waiting, 4:59, 4:59, 4:59, 4:59. And in that moment, it was literally a 10-minute 4:59. And I say that it was divine intervention, because something bigger than me froze that clock at 4:59. And I fell to my knees, and I looked up, and I started to pray, and tears were just streaming down my face. And for the first time, I started listening to this voice inside of me telling me, like, girl, there's so much more to life than what you're currently experiencing. Like, what are you doing? And it was as if this voice was just screaming through my rib cage, and I felt it, and everything in my body started to shift. And I started to feel like I was really coming into alignment for the first time, even though I didn't even understand what alignment meant in those moments. And I started to, I literally got up, went into the kitchen, took all of the wine, threw it in the trash can, and I started to get books, and I started to read books, and I started to listen to podcasts, and I started to learn about energy and frequency and life purpose and self-love and intuition. And I started to feel the feeling I had been searching for all of those years. I started feeling lit up from the inside out. And I took the whole entire next year to learn to love myself. I became a retreat junkie. I started going on retreats. I found healers, I found coaches, and I opened up to this whole new world. I'm very, very intuitive. I have almost every intuitive gift you can have. And it was scared me. I didn't know what to do with it. And so I had to learn how to turn it up, turn it down, manage that, and really the way that I want to use my gifts, because I believe that we all can use our gifts in a different way. And it's up to us how we want to use our gifts to really transform and uplift and walk into this new space that we're moving to from as an evolutionary species together, right? And everything changed and shifted. And just for clarity, whenever I tell this story, I like to say, like, I do have a glass of wine sometimes, or I do have a cocktail sometimes to celebrate. It wasn't like it was for me, it wasn't about the alcohol. It was about the numbing, and it was about listening to my soul. And it was about doing things that fill me up with the right intention and with the right energy. And I built a career. In 2014, I totally changed. I shifted my career. I launched my first book. I started speaking. I started teaching transformation, energy, and frequency. And ever since, I started to understand how to use energetics to create a life that blows my own mind.
It's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For real, because it's pretty hard to get yourself out of a dark hole where you lose yourself, and it's I like to say dark energy. The resistance, the devil, pulling you and trying to keep you away from your greatness, trying to keep you away from your truth of who you really are.
That's something that we still face. It's not like once you step out of it, you're done. I always say, as long as you're breathing, you're growing, and every next level requires you to expand your energy and plug into the frequency of possibility and abundance and where you want to go, and be able to hold some of those denser feelings, because we do live on a dense plane. And so, I still I was out floating in the ocean a couple days ago, really just inviting in a cleansing, healing space, because our mind will do that. Our logical mind will kick in and things will kick in. And so these are tools that I still walk with every day. The tools that I teach. I did an event last night and I said, I'm on this journey with you. I'm still learning and growing every step of the way. We all are. And so it's not like it's a one and done thing. It's like, yes, I was in a really dark place and I got myself out of it. And there's every next level, there's still things you have to look at, and there's still a mindset you need to walk with, and there's still a place where you plug your energy into where you want to go, and not what's happened or what your mind tells you is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard, about, energy cleansing and stuff like that. Can that be a belief system, or is that like really something genuine? Like I've heard, like if you've been around some really toxic people or some really negative energy or negative vibes, cleansing yourself or washing off, consciously saying, or having a shower, for example, go and have a shower and say, believe that I'm cleansing this dark energy or this negative vibes off me right now so that I can, get my power back, for example. Is that a belief system? Or, you have to believe in something that you're doing for it to be real, right? Or how does it work? Like you just said that you went into the ocean to cleanse yourself. Is it because the ocean is part of nature? Is that the natural energy of the earth that's why it's cleansing you? Is it you going into nature, into the bush or the forest or the woods to feel the energy of the trees, or to ground yourself with your feet in the earth to recharge your energy field?
I believe it's all of it. So in my book, in Quantum Vibes, I actually take you through that process, because you have to have both pieces. Your mind, if you get in a bath to wash your hair because you want clean hair, you believe you're going to get clean hair, and then you do the process and you get clean hair. It's the same with the energy. If you do a beautiful visualization of even just golden light, like the sun coming in, and do a cleansing, it will work. Absolutely. I went into the ocean because the ocean, I do believe, just the ions of the salt, it's nature. You've got the sun, you've got the elements, and there is something, it would be very hard to sit on a beach and put your feet in the sand and feel the sun on your face and go swimming head under and float and like feeling the free water and just like soaking it all in. Like it would be very hard to do that and still be connected to a dense energy. I'm not saying that can't happen, because I'm sure it does happen. But when you're doing it with the intention of like, you know what, I'm really willing to sit in the fire with with my feelings right now. I'm really willing to hold the density that's in my body, and I'm really willing to let it go. And I'm going to just sit here right now and call on my higher self, my higher power, and nature to do its thing with me. And to me, it's a little bit of a spiritual process, and it's beautiful. I believe it. I've walked thousands of people through these processes, and it works.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So you mentioned intuition and these gifts of intuition, or these different parts of your intuition. Can you share with us a little bit more about that? Because I've had, stages of growth in my own spiritual journey, and, the reconnection process of me discovering my power and learning to love myself and be my own biggest fan and best friend, and have self-compassion and appreciation for who I am, and come from a place of, non-judgment and just acceptance of my physical appearance. For example, I used to be very judgmental of the way that I looked, naked, for example, just my physical body, right? So I was living in a very self-hate mindset, not accepting, trying to always fit in, try to change myself all the time. Even caused me to, take anabolic steroids, because back then I was living in the ego and very unconscious. So, it was all about trying to fit in with the crowd, and, thinking that, if I look bigger, then I'll be more attractive, for example. So, this for me has been a journey, but one of the aspects of it was to really trust myself and tune into my intuition, to feel that voice that gut feeling of what is right, what feels right. Like that's something now that I'm tuning into more. If something doesn't feel in alignment with where I'm in at the moment with my journey, with my business, with my company, with my growth or whatever, I trust it. I never used to do that, right? And sometimes trusting it is uncomfortable because you may have to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone about a specific thing that's happening in your life or whatever it is. And that's really challenging for most people because it's having to face the music. It's having to tune into, like, it's like your soul is speaking to you saying, okay, this is unhealthy and this is something you got to let go of, or this is something that has, you know, inflicted some sort of pain or negative vibes towards you, and you've got to speak up now and stand up for yourself. How do we fast track that process, and what are these gifts or other elements of your intuition that that you teach about or that you know about?
First of all, thank you for your vulnerability and for sharing, and the way that you do. It's so beautiful just to watch a really amazing masculine man with such an open heart share. So thank you for that. So for me, it's hard to explain what I believe. I believe that we all have a very unique soul blueprint, and that every single person has intuition available to us. Most of us clog the channel. Most of us let our logical mind kick in and take over. And so while there's many levels of intuition, you asked about fast tracking it, and also about really coming into self. You do need to be able to see yourself through the eyes of your highest, truest, wisest piece of divinity that lives in your heart, in order to open up your intuition, in order to create a magnetizing frequency that you hold where you manifest. And so I always say, you know, one of the most underestimated tools of manifestation is self-love, and that frequency of unconditional love. And you mentioned, you know, you wanted to change to look a certain way, and so many of us do these things, and that's also almost like a coping mechanism of trying to feel love, of searching for a feeling, when we're all doing it when the feeling is right inside of us. And so the best thing that you can do is really start to tap in the wisdom in your heart. I always say, you know, the wisdom in your heart is far more powerful than the logic in your mind. And the most of it, we're conditioned to trust the mind. We're conditioned to live in a masculine world that says go, force, push, do things. I'm not, there's nothing wrong with masculine energy. We need it. We also need a balance of feminine energy, and that's for men and for women. We both need to be able to understand the feminine energetics in our body and our frequency, and the masculine energetics, both in our personal lives and our businesses, how we can balance them. That is also a piece of self-love. And it sounds like that's kind of what you came into when you were really coming into self, was bringing that balance. And so really starting to understand what your heart is calling forth. So here's a beautiful example. And this is actually something I haven't really announced publicly yet, and something so exciting that just happened in my world around this conversation. So in 2013, I had my awakening. In 2014, I was praying for purpose, because, you know, a lot of times when we're coming into self, we're not in alignment with our soul, with our purpose. I was praying for purpose, and I started meditating. I've meditated every single day since May 11th in 2014. That was the day that I committed to daily meditation. Just before that, I was praying for my life purpose. I wanted to be shown. It was like this whole new world of everything was opened up to me, and I was learning to know I was learning to learn who Suzanne was, without all these stupid labels and personas that I had tried to carry around. It was like, who am I really? Like, what do I like? What do I desire? What is my mission? What did I come here to do? What really brings me fulfillment? I started asking these questions, and I thought like I was going to be like sitting in meditation, and like a memo would drop in and be like, your life purpose is ABC. Here's the instructions, you know, and that didn't really happen. What happened was, I got in a moment where I was running out for a jog in Atlanta. It was about 70 degrees. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia at the time. I was running, and all of a sudden, as my feet were hitting the pavement, it was like this clunk, clunk, and this like, brrr, this knowing came in my body. And it was like so strong and so clear. You were going to write a book. It's not just going to be any book. This is going to be like a book that's going to imprint the world. You're going to write a book, and it's going to be a trilogy, and it's going to be about a girl who awakens and really parallel to your own journey, and a girl who travels the world on soul retrieval, learning her spiritual gifts. And it's going to be a book that teaches personal development, that teaches energetics, but that does it in a really fun and magical way, so that the reader is captivated. And it's going to be kind of like a Twilight or a Hunger Games, but it's going to be with spirituality and purpose. Okay. So that was in 2014. I got that download. Luke, it was like the clearest vision that I imprinted in my body that I've ever had. I wrote the first version of this book in 2014, launched it in 2015. There's so many different pieces of this I could tell. So I'm skipping a lot of the way this book kind of helped me to get to where I'm getting today. Basically, I ended up pulling it off the market, rewriting it, relaunched it in 2020 as Girl Awakened. And 2 days ago, funding for the movie just dropped in. And so Girl Awakened, we are making a movie now of Girl Awakened. And this was one of those visions that I have held. I have stood on stages for years telling people like, this book is going to be a movie. And I could have never predicted the way that this just showed up. It's still so fresh and so new, but like, this is the magic and the miracles of tapping into something bigger than you. It makes no logical sense. It makes no sense. Everything in my life that has been like a big wild dream, it makes no logical sense. And most people lose out on this because they go back to the mind and they're like, that doesn't make sense. Why would I do that? They don't believe it. And so it's like, if you really want to manifest, if you really want to create big wild dreams, if you really want to have an impact and a legacy, we have to check our logical minds at the door and tap into that wisdom in our heart and be so excited and move with it, even when it feels crazy and even when it doesn't make sense.
That is extraordinary. Congratulations, for real. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Look, as you were saying, you know, even if it doesn't make sense, even if you sound crazy, you know, when you're coming from a scarcity mindset, when you're coming from fear, when you've constantly been rejected, when you've lived, you know, through adversity for many, many years of your life, or maybe you've been in a marriage that's just been really toxic for a long time, you know, listening to you right now is hope. Wow. Right. But if this is the first time that somebody's listening to this, there's also the like, yeah, but that couldn't happen to me. I couldn't, you know, possibly achieve something like that because of constant, you know, bad energy, man. So it's hard to believe, it's hard to fathom, but that's why we're here for. That's what we're here for, is this inspiration, is this, hey, we were once where you were. We were living in fear, you know, we were suppressing our emotions, we were escaping life constantly through different forms of addictions and shit. And so what you're doing is so powerful. And I always refer back to Don Miguel Ruiz, one of the 4 agreements, which is be impeccable with your word. You can either use your words for black magic or you can create miracles with them. And I truly believe that, you know, be careful what you wish for, Suzanne, because it will come true. And if you keep speaking it into the universe, keep speaking it into existence, that your book is going to become a movie, it will, if you keep doing it. If you keep writing your goals that are in present tense, that they're already real, and you keep showing up and doing that consistently, be careful, because your mind will gravitate and expand that which you focus on. And I keep saying that the Dream Chasers Facebook community, which is my Facebook community, eventually is going to be a conference. It's going to be an event. I keep speaking it into existence that next year I'm going to start doing events in Australia. And then once I do that, then I will expand. And so I'm not saying this because it's wishful thinking. I'm saying it because it's energy, and the mind is always paying attention. It's always listening. And I think we discredit. I did a training yesterday called The Greatest Weapon. And that is, yes, self-love is, I believe, the secret to success, because your external reality is a reflection of the relationship with yourself. But your mind is extraordinary. And if you learn to use it the right way, and obviously that coupled with the power of your voice, which makes your environment, you will achieve whatever you focus on, whatever you speak it into the universe, and you keep saying it and believing in it. It's going to eventually come true. So I'm really inspired by hearing your story and by what is happening in your life. And I think one of the things that challenges most people is that the journey requires patience. And we want that like instant hit. We want that instant success. If we don't see something within 3 or 4 months, it's like, this is not working. I give up, But it's important to talk about this, because you got to have that patience. I mean, come on, like when you have a baby, right? The baby just doesn't grow up after freaking 6 months. It's 10 years old. You got to feed the kid, change the nappies. You got to wait for it to learn how to walk so it's strong enough, and that's the process of your success. It's the same thing.
Well, notice I said I had that vision in 2014. We're in 2022 now. And, for those, you mentioned the people that say, oh, that could never be me, or, lucky for her, or she did it, or he did it. The truth of the matter is every single person, we all have the same amount of energy. We might have different circumstances. We have different personalities. We have different soul blueprints, but we all have the same amount of energy. And I believe your energy is your greatest superpower if you know how to use it. And so it's truly a choice. It's truly a choice of if you're going to plug into where you want to go, if you're going to plug into what's inspiring, if you're going to choose to learn the tools. And you know what? My path and my tools might not work for everybody, but there are so many teachers that you find the teacher that works for you, that you resonate with, and the people that activate you, and you get in their world through Instagram, through YouTube, through books, through podcasts, through conversations like this, through retreats, through events. And, I do believe that energy is contagious. And so I had an event last night on activating your radiance. And I said, it blows my mind when people are like, all these people are so toxic, or all these people, yada, yada. And I said, change your circle, change your circle. And if you don't know where to find the people, come hang out with me, or go hang out with Luke. We're surrounded by the people that are on mission and that are searching. And if you're listening to this conversation right now, it means that you also have a big purpose and a big mission, and it's time to say yes. And I believe that we are in a huge, massive awakening of big, wild dreams that can come true for the people that are walking the walk with the right intention of making the world a better place, of really coming into human potential, of really understanding these personal development tools. And it's really what makes life rich and rewarding and fun. And Luke, I see you having that event. And maybe we'll be on the stage one day together at an event.
1,000%. No, I don't have a doubt about it. I'm listening to you, and I'm already saying, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to welcome Susan onto the stage.
So fun. I can't wait. We'll have a blast.
I envision, creating, healing retreats in like Costa Rica, Bali, Europe, and, similar to Mind Valley. I was a part of Mind Valley back in 2019, and I know that they had their events in different Tulsa. I think it's where's that? Tulsa is in what country is that? Austria?
I spoke at the one at two Mind Valleys, at the one in Bali and the one in Croatia.
Yeah. There was a few there. I can't remember what they were called exactly, but yeah, I mean, they have these different events which bring people together. And you know, it's a space, it's a safe space, it's a space to heal, to grow, to learn. And again, it's your environment. You know, you are the creator of your destiny. You're the one that's in the driver's seat, but most of us are sitting in the back seat and someone else is driving, whether that's your family, your friends, culture, indoctrination, conditioning from your past, you know, being programmed a specific way, and we don't realize that we're not actually in control. And that's why I say that your mind is the greatest weapon. Become aware of your thoughts. Just like Earl Nightingale said, you become what you think about, you know, and Tom Bilyeu says you become what you repeat, which is kind of similar. But I want to ask you, who were you before 2014? What were you doing?
Well, do you mean who was I as far as my personality?
Like your professional life, for example.
My
Like what kind of
professional
work
life.
were you doing before you stepped into this and going, okay, I'm going to discover my purpose. I'm going to discover myself. I'm going to create my own company, and I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to help people wake up to their greatness and their potential. But what were you doing before? Like, for example, I was a driving examiner for a government department, and I was taking people out on tests and marking them pass or fail, giving them their
Interesting.
licenses.
Wow.
And then I was also a chauffeur driver. So I was driving airline pilots from their house to the airport and picking them up from the airport to take them home. Like that's what I was doing before I decided to say, you know what, this is not who I am. This is not where I'm going to be in, you know, looking at one of my friends, and I was like, well, he's been here for 20 years. Is this who I am when I'm 52? And I was like, no way. There's got to be something else. Surely I'm not just here to do this Monday to Friday and be on repeat, in and out of cars, 9 cars every day. There's got to be more.
You don't want to wake up, go to work, pay bills, go to bed and die.
Exactly. You know, for real. And it's like, I feel like, I hope that whoever's listening right now gets inspired or has a moment of like, yeah, I don't want to do this, what I'm doing right now for the rest of my life, or the next 20 years. And, you know, that's where it comes back to, you know, a quote that I posted on my social media of like, before you can help others and save other people, you need to save yourself.
True.
You need to discover your power and reconnect with yourself, which, you know, if you told me this 5 or 10 years ago, I would have been like, what are you talking about? You know, and so sometimes people aren't ready to hear it, but yeah, like you said, I think we are going through a mass, you know, awakening, or, you know,
sure.
People are realizing that there's got to be more to life than what we're doing. Being on repeat.
All of
like
our
that.
souls are being called in a new way. So if you feel like there has to be more to life, if you feel like there's synchronicities, if you feel like there's this yearning inside you looking for more, that is your soul calling you, something bigger than you telling you. So for me, you know, we all have an interesting path, and I was actually in the medical device field. So I was training and consulting surgeons in hospital and OR rooms and patient surgeries, working with C-suite executives and hospitals. I was training sales teams in these, internally in the companies that I worked for. And I was actually very much in alignment. I loved it. I thrived. I was in the top, you know, I worked very hard to get in the top percent. And then I had created a situation where I had a lot of flexibility because of all the work that I had put in. And so when I walked away from it, everyone thought I was crazy, like crazy. Like my boss was everyone was just shocked and stunned, because it was in alignment until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, like everything in my body was telling me like, no. Like I said, I would drive to work to get out of the car, and like I wouldn't be able to get out of the car. It was like my everything in my body, my soul was like, girlfriend, it's time. And so what I did, and I think this conversation will serve a lot of people too, is I quit, just quit. I've helped a lot of people transition out of their corporate jobs and into online entrepreneurship. And I also work with a lot of people and execs and VPs in corporate, because we need the light there too. And what I'll say is, there's nothing wrong with bringing your light and bringing your purpose and bringing your mission into what you're doing. And you can expand abundantly inside of a corporation. There's so much opportunity everywhere. And so what I did was I walked away, I quit, and I took a year off to learn to love myself, to start writing my first book, to go on retreats. And I was building my tools and building my toolkit. And then what happened was I realized I was used to a certain level of abundance, and I really wasn't okay without it. It was a non-negotiable for me. And so I ended up doing a little bit of consulting in the corporate world while I was building my business. And it helped to create a sense of abundance. So it wasn't like in this tight energy of like, this has to work, this has to work. And I'm not saying that's everyone's path, because everyone's path is different. But what I've seen so many times when people feel out of alignment is they think they need to go start this whole new thing, just quit everything and jump in with no preparation. And that's not the smartest thing to do, unless you have enough money that you can live on for a year and be able to invest in the things that you need and the support that you need. Don't do it. Get creative. What's something part-time that you could do? What's a job that's more in alignment that you could do while you're building things? And be open for miracles, because sometimes it does work, but everybody's path is a little bit different. So I think it's really important. It's like, do you feel in alignment? And if not, what would feel more exciting? And what could you do? And the other thing, and you can probably resonate with this, Luke, in entrepreneurship, you're going to grow and change and shift 8 million times, right? It's like you have an idea and what you want to do. And then you're like, wait a second, there's a new idea. And it's a constant evolution of growth and shifting and changing. And so it's like, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to pivot, and you definitely have to be motivated, for sure, because we are going to be told no. We're going to fail more than we succeed. And I can't tell you how many times, like even right now with this whole movie thing happening, and my logical mind is kicking in of all the things of what if, and then my heart says, girl, this is what you've been manifesting. This is what you've been calling in. And so it is really about having the tools to even hear your heart, and the strength to follow it, and the wisdom to trust it.
Yeah, what if it works out better than you thought? That's the mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we have like, what if it doesn't work out? What if it's a flop? What if it's shit? And it's like, what if it's amazing?
What if your success is inevitable? What if that?
Yeah, it's just shifting the way we think, because you can really have these thoughts that constantly go, well, naturally we kind of do. It's that primal part of our mind that that it's unfamiliar. It's something you haven't physically experienced in reality, so the mind is constantly trying to keep you in that safe space.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just awareness. And I always say, become aware of you're not your thoughts, you're just the observer of them.
Mm-hmm.
And once you pick up on that, do you deal with much self-doubt?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah. And how do you communicate with yourself? How do you do you have any techniques or anything that you do?
Yeah, I do. So actually in the book, Quantum Vibes, which will be available in October, it's available for pre-order now, but it'll be available in October. There's an exercise that I use. It's called the wheels in your heart. And you actually spoke a moment ago about driving, and the words that you used were somebody else is driving, other people's ideas, other people's opinions. And the way I do this is I look at, we have a lot of different pieces of us, right? We have the beautiful, wise, divine, truest, highest piece of us, which should be driving most and is mostly not. We have the inner judge. We have the doubting self. We have the piece of us that feels unworthy. We have the pieces of us that are programmed as a child to not feel lovable, to be in wounded energy, to all of the things. We have all these layers of us, and we have to learn to hold those pieces of us and let them be seen and let them be heard, but not give them the keys to the ignition. And so the exercise, I go in detail in the book about it, but basically it's a visualization where I take you through a process of really being able to alchemize these pieces of you with love and acceptance, and hand over the keys to that beautiful, wise piece, because we're human. We're always going to have the doubts. They're always going to be there. And if you're waiting for them not to be there, you're going to be waiting a long time. And it's about, how can you hold those denser pieces of you without judgment and with love, and really plug your energy into where you want to go and not where you've been, and really plug your energy into anything is possible, and really plug your energy into grace and infinite possibilities, and ride with that frequency being the dominant frequency, and knowing that it's going to be an up and down thing. It would be very boring if you were always in the frequency of everything is perfect. I mean, that's not what we came here to do. We came here to learn to dance with this human mind that we have. And that's a big piece of it, is of course we're still going to have doubts.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is part of the exciting appreciation of fulfillment. Because when you go through a journey of, oh, I don't know if I can do it, oh, maybe it's not going to work out, and you persevere and you make progress, then you feel fulfillment, like you're able to reflect and go, wow, I did that. I overcame that. That's the whole purpose. You know, if there was no doubt, well, then who cares? Like, there's, you know, you just do whatever. But and so it's that striving for achieving something that you've never done before, which gives you a life you've never lived before. But it also helps you to appreciate that, wow, you know, I once thought or doubted myself that I was able to do that, and I proved my mind wrong. So if I can do that, then I can do anything. And that's kind of where I've come from, is like, you know, I kept speaking that, you know, I'm going to be the best motivational speaker in the world. My podcast is going to be #1 podcast in the world. Woo! I keep saying all this shit.
I love it.
Right? Because I'm passionate, you know, because I'm like, nah, man, I'm the shit, you know. And it's like, if you don't believe in yourself, if you're waiting for someone to give you validation and credit, well, you're gonna be waiting a long time. And it's like, why can't I be my own best friend, be my biggest fan, empower myself to show up? And it's me versus me, by the way, anyway. It's not me versus anyone else. I don't care about what other people are doing. It's my own personal journey, because for so many years I was comparing myself to other people, and that's where you lose, because you're not anyone else. And I think one of the most powerful quotes, and I'll keep repeating this because it's so beautiful. I think I heard Rihanna say it. She said, you know, once you learn to love yourself, this is to do with, you know, comparing yourself to others. Once you learn to love yourself, you'll never want to be anyone else. And so we, you know, because I mean, social media is huge, and the, you know, media, magazines, fashion, all that kind of stuff. It's so easy to get lost in that space of I'm not enough, or, you know, I could never be like that, or whatever. And it's like, but you're not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be you. So where's the disconnection? It's nice to be inspired. You know, like I use the Kardashians as a great example, because I know that people like, oh, they got too much money or whatever it is. And it's like, no, man, I see them as an inspiration. They're doing their thing. I'm not here to judge anyone, you know. Totally. Be inspired to be able to know that anything's possible for you, but you got to show up. And one of the ways that you can learn to do that at the beginning is to learn to love yourself, put yourself first, protect your energy, be the #1 priority in your life. Stop people pleasing, heal your past, realize that there's limitations in your mind and blocks within your energy that is causing you to be in a disassociated state. So on that, Susan, tell us a little bit about, you know, I'm huge on protecting your energy. Like, proximity is power. With whom you surround yourself with is whom you become. And for me, man, like, I used to have so many friends. Now I have one best friend that I surround myself with, and we're both growing. and that was uncomfortable, to go and detach myself, disconnect myself from everything I've always known. And that's why I say, you know, if you want to live a life you've never lived, you've got to do things you've never done. And it's kind of unfortunate, but I don't want to go back to where I came from. You know, I'm looking towards the future. Where is my vision? Who am I? Where I want to be, then I need to surround myself with that kind of energy.
100%.
So what does protecting your energy mean to you, and how can people understand it better, and why is it so important?
Well, it is very important. Like I said, I believe your energy is your biggest superpower, and most people don't understand energetics or how to use it. And, it's, for me, it's one of the things that I love to teach and talk about. And it's absolutely one of the most powerful tools that's changed my life, because your energy is your frequency. It's the vibration you're sending out that you become a match to and what you call in. So if you're vibrating at the energy of the toxic news that's spewing out in your house, or the gossip that's at the dinner table, or whatever it is, you're going to be an energetic match for a lot of crap. So if you have big dreams, if you want to feel lit up and excited, you want to take your energy to that vibration of where you want to go. And I flesh out a lot of this in my TEDx talk in 16 minutes about that. Protecting your energy, that was a little bit different. So I remember when I first started learning about this, it was so simple. It blew my mind. It, like, literally something as simple as a visualization body scan with your chakra system and colors and light. It felt so, like, I'm like, what? That's too easy. Noticing what your environment looks like. I don't care if you live in the penthouse in the most beautiful city in the world with the most beautiful view, or if you live in a basement apartment in like a podunk area. It doesn't matter. If you can create some sort of beautiful sanctuary in your home, it's so important to, like, feel good in the place that you're living in. What are you putting in your body? Are you eating a bunch of junk and processed food? I mean, that does translate to your frequency. I mean, what's in our water system is not clean. Are you taking a bunch of pharmaceuticals? I'm not saying that there's never a place for them, because sometimes there is, but people take them too often. It clogs your energetic channels. Are you meditating? Are you sitting with stillness in your heart? All of these things, movement. Are you moving your body? Even just this conversation is an energetic clearing for someone. So it's like, if you're wanting, I do remember when I first started awakening, and I was like, I can't even go to dinner anymore, because the density of the conversation did not feel good to me. And it did feel lonely at first. But then I started finding retreats. And the beautiful thing about social media and online communities is you can connect with people in your same vibration, or the vibration where you want to go, so fast. There's so many tools, so many things, even for free, that you can plug into. There's so many great books. That get yourself in community. And also, we have to step out of judgment for the people that are still in that space and place. And what I found in my own life is, the more I stepped into my power, the more other people that even fell off, sometimes they would start to join me, or people that I would step away from started coming to my workshops. And it's like, we're all creating this ripple effect. And just by your energy, like, wouldn't it be amazing to, when you walk in the room, you shift the energy just by who you are? Because we all have that power. You don't even have to say anything. You can walk in a room, breathe, smile, blink. People can feel it. And so, if we all set the intention to be the most powerful, positive energy in the room, the world would change. Now, you do have to clean up your side of the street when you set that intention. And when you walk this walk, you do have to be willing to implement the tools. And to be willing to say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this conversation. I'm not interested in that anymore. Turn off the news, really start opening up to conversations that inspire you. And once you do it, it just becomes part of who you are. Nature is another thing that I didn't talk about, but nature is so healing. Being barefoot on the ground, getting yourself even like in a salt bath, whatever it is, there's so many tools. I mean, I could talk about this just alone for 4 hours. So it's like, there's so many things that you can do. Figure it out, what works for you, and go from there, one step at a time, one little small action at a time. It doesn't have to be all at once.
Yeah, I really believe that as well. And again, what we talked about before, like the belief system of what you believe is really powerful. And I believe that everything that you're surrounded by is basically an extension of your energy field. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that your environment is decluttered, for example. That's something that I promote. If you've got a lot of old stuff, or you're hoarding shit and it's just like piling up,
clean it out.
Man, it's it doesn't help your mental health. It's like, it's not good for your mind to have so much crap lying around. So keep things in order, keep things fresh and clean. And yeah, it's like everything is energy, you know, and that's really what I truly believe. And that's why I'm really mindful of like who I surround myself with, the environments that I choose to be around, because I feel it. You know, like you mentioned the word density. I remember doing a video when I was in Sydney, when I was living at my parents', and I came back to Sydney because I was servicing the car that I have. And I was like, there's so much traffic. And I was like, oh my gosh, this noise. And I was like, man, this is too much, you know, and so I just wanted to be in a peaceful environment where there wasn't all this noise and buildings everywhere, and you know, and so yeah, I felt that, and that makes a massive difference. You know, for everyone's different, but yeah, especially with the people that you surround yourself with, and like you mentioned, gossiping and complaining, and you know, that's why I say you become a product of your environment. And it's like everyone's been through different experiences, especially childhood, and a lot of our experiences growing up, we didn't have any control over that. So it has caused you to be who you are today. And it's like, okay, well, if that hasn't supported my growth or being the best version of myself, I need to take responsibility for what I've gone through and heal that, so that I can unlearn everything that's not me, so I can step into my authenticity. So just talking about that, I wanted to ask you, when you're growing, when you're trying to unlearn a lot of the parts of you that are not you, or don't resonate with you, or don't feel like it's your true authentic self. You know, one thing I said yesterday when I was live on Instagram was that healing is an ongoing journey. It's not, you don't get to this plateau or this mountaintop and now you can put your hands in the air and go, okay, now, like I've heard before, like I'm not going to have a relationship until I'm fully healed, and then I'm going to attract someone who's also fully healed, and then, you know, that's it. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. I don't believe that. I believe, and again, I know that this can be a belief system, but I really believe that healing your traumas and triggers and everything that you've been through in the past is an ongoing journey. It doesn't end. There's going to be always something that is going to be brought to your attention, or you're going to be triggered by something, and that's going to be your sign to go, hey, there's something there that you want to look deeper in, or something there that you need to talk to your coach or your therapist about. Because yeah, you don't just stop and get to this level of like, okay, that's it, I'm done. What's your take on that?
I agree completely. And there's seasons, you know, there's seasons where you're going to be in the trenches a little bit more. Things are coming up and you're healing them. And, you know, in the beginning, it's almost like when you awaken to understand these tools, because we all have a different path. Some people are exposed to these conversations as children, which is a huge gift. You know, I do believe this is the curriculum that should be in schools, in elementary schools and high schools, and that's a different conversation. Some of us are exposed to this very early on, and some of us in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, you never know. So you do have to do the unlearning of everything I've known. Now I'm realizing it isn't true. And the programs and coding that I took on from very well-meaning adults in a very well-meaning society does not serve me. And so it's up to me to be in my power, to understand how my mind works, to connect with my heart and soul, and to get in the conversation, to find the coach, to find the retreat, to read the book, to do whatever it is that you need to do to shift it. Because we can't play the victim in this role. You know, everyone has a different path, a different story. And wherever you came from, if you're in the story of victimhood, your vibration is contracted and you're not going to grow. If you choose the path of the empowered creator of like, you know what, I can't change that. I can't change what happened, but I can change the way I think about what happened, and I can change the way I look about the future. And I can change if I want to make the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the best years. And you go, Sarah Blakely, who's the inventor of Spanx, the youngest female billionaire, she always says, like, this life is not a dress rehearsal. And so it's not. And people aren't dreaming big enough. My clients, I work with everyone from coaches, healers, doctors, lawyers, execs, CEOs, and from the billionaires to the people just trying to hit 10K in their business. It's the same. It's the same conversations that we're having, just at very different levels. Understanding energetics, understanding how to either you plug into where you want to go and you dance in the field of potentiality and dreams, and you function from the energetics of that space, or you walk with a really dense third dimensional reality of what seems possible and you go there. And most of us don't dream big enough because we don't want to be disappointed. Guess what? You're disappointed anyways. So you might as well dream big. You might as well go get it. Or what's the point of it all anyways? So we are on this journey, and you don't become fully, you can reclaim yourself. You can become more in alignment with your soul. And there's always a next level. To the most self-actualized people, there's always a next level. Tony Robbins is still growing. There is always a next level. Gandhi, everyone like that is here on this planet, as long as you're on this planet, you're still growing. If you're breathing, you're growing.
Yeah, man, that's a good example. Tony Robbins is still growing. He is. I've watched him. I think the first time I heard him was in 2006, maybe. But now who he is versus who he was, it's just and this is part of the journey of like evolution, really. It's I think that a lot of us are unhappy with our lives because we're in a space of stagnation, where we're not growing, we're not moving in any sort of direction, we're just on repeat. And that's causing a disconnection with your soul. So you're unhappy, you're not fulfilled, you're escaping life constantly. But it may be a scary, I think this goes back to our conversation before, for anyone who's not kind of living in their purpose or doing what they love and getting paid for it, for example. I think that's a big dream for many people. And, it's really about this awesome quote. I think I don't know if it's from Les Brown or Bob Proctor or one of them. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start if you want to be great. And if I think about like where I was 4 years ago, it was really just having some sort of little glimmer of hope, glimmer of faith, glimmer of belief. And you'll see that, and I see this with my clients, like after a week or two, and then I speak to them, it's like, oh, this has happened. Oh, I'm seeing this all the time. And my mind's like, it's like I can, when they speak to me, all I'm seeing is the mind opening up, because it's been closed for so many years, and that's part of like what I went through. And, that takes me to synchronicities. And I love talking about this because the universe is like sending you signs all the time. And it's up to you. Like, I mean, even on my screen right now, there's this percentage on my screen that says 111.
Oh, amazing.
And my first girlfriend's birthday, I've said this before, was the 11th of November. Oh,
wow.
And my birthday is the 22nd of September. So 22, 11 plus 11 is 22. And I've seen signs like in numbers, but not only that, it can happen with things that happen in your life, people or cars.
So many things. Yes.
Stickers on a car or whatever it is. But it's been happening to me like all my life. And I only started to pick up on it when I started going on this journey, because, I'd constantly see, like yesterday, when I was putting something, when I was in the kitchen, in the microwave said 1717. I'm like, okay. But because I'm so used to seeing these signs now, it's kind of like, okay, I see you. now that things have manifested a lot more for me, I believe that I'm on the right path. I understand it. But at the beginning of your journey, for me, one thing for me was detaching myself from religion, for example, because I felt like that was something that was holding me in a specific circle. And I don't want to be in a specific circle. I want to be open. I want to be unified with everything, and so one thing that I attached myself to was these synchronicities, these signs. And that's been a major force in my growth and belief of when I was in the dark and I was trying to get out of the dark into the light. And so now it's just, when I see it, I'm just like grateful. Versus before, when I would see it, I'd be like, keep going, Luke, believe in yourself. The universe has your back. Everything is in alignment. You keep seeing these signs, keep going.
Yes.
It's all happening for a reason. Everything is happening the way it's meant to happen, and you got to trust. So some of these experiences, and I'll share with you another one that just happened recently. And I was at a car dealership and I was buying a car, and he shared with me the build date. And he said the build date is the 11th of November, 2021. And then he told me that when the registration starts, and I'm like, yeah, all good. I said, yeah, no worries. I said, this is the price I want it for. And he's like, what's with all the twos? Okay, just give me that price, please. and so he did it for me. But when he said 1111, I was like, thank you. I know this is the right thing for me. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
I was just like, yeah. So, it happens so much, but it's just like, there's also the part of the mind that, if you start focusing on something, you seem to attract it more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
For
also
sure.
like, well, is that the mind working, or is there something out there that is like,
you're becoming an energetic match to it.
Because I mean, how do you explain this shit? How do you explain? You always seem to pop up you always seem to see in the 24-hour clock, if it's a digital clock, it says 2222, or it says, I see 922. That's my birthday, 922. I see it all the time. Is it because my mind is programmed to know at that time of the day to look at the clock? Is that what it is? Or is it really like, a sign? Like, and so the thing is, it can't be, because some of these things that happen, like the car, it's unexplainable. How is it possible that I am getting this car that is built on the 11th of the 11th? How?
It's explainable because that's the dynamic of unseen forces. This is the conversation about taming the mind. The things that don't make sense are the best things. Everything in my life that's happened makes no sense, no logical sense. It was the heart. So it's really about letting your heart guide you. And also, how does it make sense that you're in Australia and I'm in California, and with the click of a button, we're seeing each other's faces and having this beautiful conversation? It doesn't make sense. It's technology. So it's energetic technologies that are happening, and you become an energetic match, and the veils get thinner and thinner and thinner the more you connect and the more you open up to it. And I believe that we're coming into a space where we're going to have so much power and so many things that our human mind can't comprehend. And the name of the game is your human mind doesn't need to comprehend it. You need to be open to receiving, open to letting it in. You don't need to see the whole path. You need to just one step at a time and let everything drop in, because otherwise you're trying to control, and that's not an open, expansive energy.
Yeah. You don't need to know the way. Just keep going and the way will appear.
What you can control is the vibration you hold, which we've spoken about a lot, where you plug your energy into, where are you going? So many people, like I'm so done with overhearing conversations of people talking about like, oh, the real estate market is coming to tank and the market's doing this and the recession's on the way. And I'm like, game over for you. Like, have that conversation. Don't bring it around me, because I'm plugging in to massive abundance showing up for me. And I'm plugging in to influencing heart-centered leaders so that they have the most abundant years of their life. To the people that are walking the walk of alignment and true soul path, this is going to be the most abundant year ever. So it's like you can plug into these like womp stories that are going to drag you down, or you can plug into infinite possibilities we create with our energy. You get to choose. Simple as that.
Yeah, I believe it. You know, it's again, it's conversations, it's what you plug into, it's what you engage into, it's what you're listening to and tuning into. And again, a lot of it, whether it's a recession or whether it's what's really going on around the world, there's a lot of bad energy out there and negative vibes. And again, you get what you focus on. So if you're going to focus on things that are going wrong, you're going to see more of that in your life. Hence why that's another part of just protecting your energy and making sure that you are the one that's planting the seeds and watering them in your mind, you know.
And feeling grateful for possibility, like I have lived in this beautiful ocean view home.
Yeah, please tell us about that. I'm like, I've got to ask her quick before we finish up, I was watching that YouTube video and the backdrop was the ocean, and I was listening to what you were saying, but the water and the ocean, and it was just like, wow, that's so beautiful. And I'm just like, that's what you want to manifest. That's the shit, man. Like waking up in the morning, having a coffee or tea, whatever you prefer in the morning, and standing there and looking at the ocean, that kind of view, or a lake or whatever, is just like divine, man. And
it's
how did
such
you
a
do that?
dream. It's such a dream. It's so healing. It makes no sense. I mean, what I did was a lot of different things, as far as like really opening up my mind to possibility. I mean, it's a long story, so I'm going to just condense it in just a couple of minutes. But basically, I always wanted to live by the ocean. I knew I would live by the ocean. I didn't think it would happen like this. I knew one day I'd live by the ocean. I was visiting Laguna Beach because I had a speaking event right outside of San Diego. 2 weeks later, another event in Newport Beach. I was living in Atlanta. I was traveling a lot for speaking. I was hosting events and retreats. I was speaking on other people's stages. My life was like busy, fast, and furious. I was in alignment, fully going. And I had a 2-week window and I could be wherever I wanted to be. So I stayed in Laguna Beach, and I walked out one day. I'd just gotten there and I looked across and I had this moment. Like the ocean looked this like brilliant sapphire blue. The sun was dancing on the ocean like little sun fairies, and the breeze just hit my face, and it was like intuitive download, like, this is where you're supposed to live. And I was like, really? Like, it kind of shocked me. It was everything in my body was telling me like, this is where you're supposed to live. 6 months later, there's a lot I could tell you in between, but 6 months later, and I kind of fill in the gaps of this story in Quantum Vibes. So for those of you that read it, you'll get the rest of it. But 6 months later, I booked a one-way ticket, shipped my car across the country, rented out my home. I had built this beautiful home in Atlanta that was truly my healing sanctuary, and rented out my home, packed 3 suitcases, and came here. I didn't know a soul. I didn't know where I was going to be. I didn't even care. I was just so happy to be like living by the ocean. I was so happy to be feeling this excitement. I was not planning on moving when all of this happened. I got here, I'd rented a place for 1 month, and I didn't know where I was going to live. I wanted something like ideally, if it even had like a little peekaboo where I could see the ocean. I wanted to be walking distance to the ocean. And I had given myself a pretty expansive budget. Like the Atlanta market compared to here is very, very different. So I'd already kind of stretched the budget, and I was looking around, and it was like everything was just, it was like I was getting excited, but things nothing was really lining up. And I ended up on the conversation with this real estate agent, and she's like, "Oh, I know the place for you." And she told me, and I was like, "Yeah, that's not going to work. It's going to be like I don't want to spend that much." And she's like, "Okay, you sure you don't want to see it?" And I'm like, "Well, it wouldn't hurt just to look at it." And so I pull up, I go through the gate, I start coming down this pathway. I'm feeling the ocean breeze like hitting my face. I start to see the ocean. I'm walking, down, 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 down more steps. I'm at this point like steps away from the sand. The ocean is gorgeous. It's this like semi-private, beautiful cove. Looks like you're in Europe. I turn to the right. I walk in this room, floor to ceiling windows of ocean. and I had another moment, and I look around and I'm like, I'm standing in the middle of my vision board. The vision board that I had been looking at for 3 years, 2 or 3 years. It was at the foot of my bed. So I saw it every night before I went to sleep and every morning when I woke up first thing. And it was just windows and ocean basically on the whole thing. And I said, I'll take it. And it felt like a stretch. I thought it was going to be, I was like, 1 year, I'll do it 1 year. Like, this is what you move across the country for. I've almost been here 3 years. It's a dream. Every day I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, you're right. Like, I sit there, I have my morning meditation. Like right now, I just even felt the ocean breeze come in and felt it. I see dolphins almost every single day. It's the most beautiful backdrop for filming, for, for the social media piece of it. At night, I hear the ocean waves. It puts me to sleep. Like, it's not perfect. I don't have heat. I don't have AC. Like, there's some things. It's a dream. It is a true, true dream. And I'm like, every single day, I mean, in between clients, I can run down to the beach and either like just soothe myself, or when it's warm here, jump in the ocean. And I love it. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. And this was one of those things that made no sense. I followed my intuition. I didn't know a soul here, didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't think that I would really be able to like live without, like, I thought it was kind of frivolous, to be quite honest. And still people could still consider it that it is, but it's such a dream, and I love it. And I'm so happy here.
Susan, what a story. And thank you so much for opening your heart and saying yes to this conversation. And it's so inspiring. And I'm sure that everybody who's listening to this is also inspired by, I mean, this is, I think Nipsey Hussle said this, that one of the greatest gifts is to be of inspiration to the world. Like, that's one of the best things that you can do. Like, that's one of the most amazing life's like purpose, is to inspire people. Yeah. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that you're fulfilling that, and everyone who's listening to this episode has just had their vibration lifted, energy has gone up, and there's more hope in the world now because of this conversation. And I really appreciate you taking the time, because the one thing that I always say is, time is the one commodity that you can't get back. We can't go, hey, the last 45 minutes or the last 60 minutes, I want it back, because you can't do that. You can't go back 6 months and go, you know what, I wasted the last 6 months, so let me just go get that 6 months back and do it again. And that's why it's so important. Emphasize that time is going to keep ticking, and it doesn't care about you. It doesn't give a shit. It's going to keep going. And so, are you going to go with it? How are you going to use your time today? I always say that, every day I grow. What am I doing today that's helping me become a better version of myself tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And over time, you transform your life. And so spending some time with you is phenomenal, because I know that there is something that is up ahead for us. And it's amazing to be connected with you, because, even being someone that's interviewed Lewis Howes, that's been a big inspiration to me. When I saw the interview, I was like, that was a sign from the universe for me, because I was like, oh, I'm one step closer. Because one of my dreams is to be on his podcast, is to be on the School of Greatness. Yeah. And to be in his studio. I'm not doing no Zoom video with him. Make sure that and I'm not downplaying this, but it's just, I see myself and I know where I'm going to be in a few years' time. I don't have a shadow of a doubt of who I am. And that's something that, that's why it's like, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have goals, if you don't have something that's pulling you, obviously your why is so important. Mm-hmm. Because it's a big driver of what you do. But having a vision and knowing what you want to manifest and where you want to be, and being able to experience that coming to life, man, that's the best shit, man. That's what your life, that's what makes life exciting. Totally. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Where can people find you on social?
Yes, definitely on Instagram. Come say hi. I love connecting with my community on Instagram at Suzanne Adams Inc. Also on Facebook. And then my website is SuzanneAdamsInc.com. And I have actually some special free gifts for anyone that purchases either of my books and also just some free meditations. And they can find those at www.SuzanneAdamsInc.com/free-gift.
Man, thank you so much. I'm going to put all your details in the show notes below anyway. So
Perfect.
It has been such a blessing. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
I look forward to staying connected with you.
Yes, me too.
And hopefully sharing the stage one
Yeah,
day very soon.
let's do
Why
it.
not? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I appreciate you and the work that you're doing in the world is quite beautiful. I love watching your Instagram stuff. It inspires me. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Susan.